Fasola, Tida, etc. Welcome to Day 9, daily number 727, where we learn to be a better gamer by looking at Starbow, fantastic mod that you can find for StarCraft 2 in the SC2 arcade. It has so many similarities to StarCraft 2 and Brood War, but we're specifically looking at it in slow-mo today. Now, I'll emphasize one thing that's interesting about the Lurker-Defiler combo. Dragoons are going to deal nothing here. But Storm, Archons, Zealots can break through, can deal damage to the Lurkers, and barely take them out. And obviously, if you get deep enough in that the Zerg cannot throw down an additional set of Dark Swarms, great, you've broken a base. Now, if I'm Teddy Bear, here's going to be my #1 immediate concern. How the hell do I get back here and defend this? I mean, it's roughly defended with a lot of cannons and zealots. But if I'm also Franskar, I'm going to be thinking, how the hell do I kill this off? Both players need to shut down base count. This army needs to run up and over now. This army, and whatever the hell these dots are, need to get up here and shut this down now. Teddy Bear, very in the lead right now. But Teddy Bear does a move that I think is a little over-aggressive, maybe even a little daring. He pushes forward, and I almost never mind a cut, where you move in and then move back. Lurkers and Zealots, well, looks like the Lurkers are always going to win that fight. Little counterattacks, perhaps a bit too ambitious, but this army's sitting still. It's causing just a massive amount of problems for Teddy Bear up at his top sides. I think it's so easy to look at this and go, I can kill this, I can kill this, I can break through. I can do it. There's more Dark Swarms going down. There's hardly any Hydras here, but they're being positioned so well. And suddenly, it's just Dragoons, a single Archon. A very tiny amount of Hydralisk can hold this off thanks to the power of the Dark Swarm. There's also a Lurker there. 2 Lurkers here, excuse me. In the meantime, guess what? Franskar's been just rocking it. He's been counterattacking like crazy. I talked so much about the importance of the army positioning relative to the expansions. This army needs to cut up and over. Actually, a better path would be up and over and then down to apply pressure. You want to keep the pressure up, but not at these separate locations. Teddy Bear, oh, the most vulnerable bear. What is this, Teddy Bear? No, tiny army to defend the top. Ah! The most vulnerable bear. Now, Franskar is in a position that I would describe traditionally, typically, ordinarily, as screwed. There were some drops in the main that, because I'm awful, I missed them, but I'm okay with that. I think this is a just great expansion choice. Looking at the map, could be here, which is closer, but here is just perfect, because a very important technique to do is to Nidus network at a central location, and then just pop the Nidus network behind the mineral line, somewhere extremely safe, so you can churn out however many defenses you need. Lurker, 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 and then Dark Swarm these 2 big areas. Great, you have a defended expansion. And what we're also going to see is that if your expansion is coiled all the way up here, imagine a Protoss army moving this way, and then being here, trying to push down into this base. Well, in this position, the Protoss army is going to be running into Lurkers and Defilers. It's going to take them time. And if the Protoss army, again, is here, right in this corner, then that would give the Zerg a perfect opportunity to move down the bottom side. This inviting defense. Inviting the attack so you can hold on. Followed up by a counterattack is great. And here we see Teddy Bear have an oh shit moment where his troops are out of position. They're way down south, so Franskar attacks up at the top side. The only choice the teddy bear has is to try to engage. But oh no, Franskar's built up the right force. So this was not about death balls. It was not about the correct composition versus the incorrect composition. It was about this great defensive setup that Franskar had, with Teddy Bear being out of position relative to his own expansions. What does an Ultra do? Does it do a cleave attack? I don't know. I have no idea. Templar sacrificing himself, nice. So I take a look at the existing game state. Franskar has really turned stuff around. He doesn't have a huge army. He's got 10 lurkers. He has a lot of defilers, which means he's going to be hard to kill. But you need units to kill stuff. You can't just Dark Swarm endlessly. So Franskar's doing these little tiny assault forces. I think it's cool the way that there's defilers mostly here back in the main base for defense, and there's like one going out here. There's one nearby this, or excuse me, two nearby this left expansion. I find that cool. I find that intéressant. Movement speed of ultras? No! Always chitinous. Come on, Franskar. Don't you know how to stylize them ultras? Dark Swarm plus Swarm Host. Who doesn't want that? Starscree, you monster. Chat's starting to pop boners in all their thought processes. And what if these units were used with the Defiler? Plague plus fungal growth. Plague it, growth it, hurt it, own it. I wouldn't describe myself as an anti-fan of this, because normally I'd say, damn, this is bad, Teddy Bear. But keep in mind, Teddy Bear has 2 penises, and can use this rift ability to return them home at any time. Fantastic. Love it. I think it's awesome that he's engaging with Zealots and Templar. Ooh! So good. Slays it. Does he recall it? Hell no. Ignore me. Hell no. Does he get him out of there? Retreat him. Hell no. Now, I would describe myself as reasonably responsible about discussing the implications and the future sets of the previous actions to the now actions. As an example, let me note that at this 37-minute mark, we see the struggles that Zerg is having establishing an extra base. And if we come back to this 17-minute mark, or excuse me, the 18-minute mark, we see Franskar, oh, he's kind of having a hard time getting those expansions. Remember how I said those would hurt late game? We see that playing out. And I say that from seeing this game, but also from having over 10,000 games of experience, or excuse me, 10,000 hours of experience in Brood War, where I screwed myself over many times. And now we see here, God, this is kind of hard to establish. This is kind of hard to establish. From a Zerg point of view, I'm like, ah, where are the mid-game expansions? Ah! And that's why. Protoss has approximately 5 bases, but at no point are either of the bases 4 and 5 not under pressure. Dark Swarm is allowing tiny but efficient trades. So the one thing that I haven't been good at is talking about the Reaver. If you take a 4th base, get Reavers. If you take a 4th base, get Reavers, get Reavers, get Reavers. Get a Reaver. For God's sake, they deal melee damage. All the biggest threats late game are melee, except a Guardian. Very cool, all over the place attacks. Really sweet, non-SC2 style gameplay. Very, very Brood War-esque. Cracklings deal damage at a rate that would annoy Protosses just as much as it did in Brood War. Here's the Reavers. Come on, do your thing, Reavers. You almost got a Scarab. Oh, you got a Scarab? You got a Scarab? Oh, yeah. Those Brood War sound effects. Scarabs are so good. Right around the time that a Protoss gets a 4th base should typically be a time of defense. As in, during this 16-minute moment when the Protoss player is moving out. Protoss establishing control, Protoss gathering up his forces, Protoss maybe using this Rift ability to pull back units as they go. Right now, the Protoss should be attacking and establishing a 4th. Attacking and establishing a 4th. And as that 4th is getting established, Reavers to follow up for a defense. When does a 4th get established? Is it 19, 20 minutes? 22 minutes? Takes a while. Here's the attack that I was kind of eek on. And wow, it was the 22-minute mark. Okay, so right now Protoss should be doing an attack and reavering. Because the Reavers are critical for these late game battles. Super critical. Archons and Zealots, by and large, are much better in tiny numbers. They're more mobile, they can deal with more variety. Reavers are very good early, very good late, and kind of shitty everywhere else. Great at harassing and killing workers and providing a little bit of extra utility when you can pay attention to it, but only once it's quite late in the game is it nice to have Reavers on defense. There's the Plague on those Dragoons. Plague, another very efficient and strong spell. And much like in StarCraft 2, the Archon count tends to climb as the game goes on. So much gas in the bank. Let's see here. Anything notable happening build-wise? Nothing that I'd really want to talk about. You'll see the Protoss player move up here. How desperately I wish to see Lurkers and Defilers up here. And this is a moment where it's not the flaw that Franskar's doing now at the 41:35 mark. It's the flaw from 23 minutes-ish. Hell, even as early as 18 minutes, where Franskar doesn't have a good infrastructure here to defend this base, to have supported this and then to have extended it out to this location. Without any of those pieces in place, Franskar is obviously going to crumble up at this top left expansion at this moment. But there's a possibility that a Nidus Worm here, connected up behind the mineral line, woo, units flooding in, pre-established Defilers and Lurkers there. Cool. Those decisions at the 22-minute mark could have helped at the 42-minute mark. But at this point in time, the simpler things will do. Attack up at the top left. Remember how I said that that would be an opening ground for counters? Oops. Indeed it is. Spreading out Hydras, trying to dodge these Reaver shots. This is one of the reasons why late-game ZvP and Brood War revolved, especially if you were in a tight spot, around getting corner expansions far away, because sure, Protoss is up here killing it, but you're killing his extra base, his 4th base. So much strategy in Brood War, and in all RTS, revolves around saying, it's okay for you to get this many resources, but no more. It's okay for you to get 3 bases, dear Protoss, but no more. I'm going to really pressure your 4th base. And Teddy Bear's like, alright, you got my 4th base, but dude, I'm going to kill your 4th base. And we see Franskar, again, taking these corner expansions. I love corner expansions in this matchup. Ultra late. Works so great. Lurkers, Defilers, and a little bit of basic units like Hydras for support. Just a little bit. I'm still super intrigued by Rift. I want to do builds that revolve around Rift. DT is harassing. Rift! Send him home, baby. Are DTs cheaper here? They're 125, 100? Oh, wow. It's quite a bit cheaper on gas. We have a Mega Fast Ultra. And those 2 Zerglings deal more DPS than 1 Ultra. Hell yeah. God, Zerglings destroy things so fast. Ah! This army that attacked at the left, not nearby to defend the expansion. Franskar, given a little bit of a gift, but that would be underselling it. Franskar capitalizing on that error. Clears it out. All these battles between these 2 bases yield a Protoss who's unable to get beyond 3. You heard me talk about that so much, man. You don't need 4 and 5 with all that vulnerability. Just get 4. Oh no. Ah. And a Zerg with 1 mining base will always beat a Protoss with no mining base. A very cool back and forth. Totally gives me a strange pulling sensation. Free units, the best the teddy bear can hope for. In the unit count we see almost no probes, approximately equal army values. Go teddy bear, go! The Franskar, despite losing quite a lot more than his enemy, in fact, generally losing in almost all engagements, controlling those resources right, gonna get the win. Pulling back more. What glorious defense. Nice storm there. Wow, hitting both of those. Now I see a transfuse coming into effect. Ah! For a very close game. A good one. So if you want to check it out, it's called Starbow. It's a mod for StarCraft 2 on my extremely shiny, lusterful shirt. Extremely shiny. But I really liked that game because it showcased a Zerg who didn't really get the chance to get those extra critical big key bases. But the Protoss, who made little tactical errors, and Franskar was able to pull back ahead, kill off these corner expansions, and be able to stay alive. And I think we saw a lot of coolness around the interactions at 4, 5, and 6 bases between the two. Super cool. So a little bit different than our usual StarCraft analysis. You almost certainly saw that I didn't talk about the particulars of, like, how Rift works, what are timings to do with Stalkers, Warp Gates versus Gateways, should Banelings. I didn't talk a lot about the builds of all the stuff. Just big, key, high-level stuff that's going to provide the key skeleton. And whatever muscle you put on it, in terms of build orders or tactics or different strategy choices, the skeleton is so strong. We'll take questions now. Was that Ziphius in here? What up, Ziphius? He's talking about Nidus worms are in this game, but they must be built on creep, just like Nidus canals. Maybe we have no questions. Maybe everyone's just like, oh, perhaps I shall try out Starbow. Leffel Ones asked about, do you think the improved AI adds or detracts from the Brood War style? I assume you're talking about in StarCraft 2. Yeah, I've always so I'm kind of torn because I don't think it's a question between good AI or bad AI or optimized and non-optimized. I think it's more about the qualitative. How do armies behave? Well, in StarCraft 2, there's one army shape, blob. If you say, go here, no matter what units you have, they will make blob. That is one shape. In StarCraft 1, if you sent some units somewhere, they would take all sorts of crazy arrangements and permutations on their way there. That led to a lot of really interesting micro decisions. Far more so than the repeated occurrence of blob. So what I like about Brood War is that variety, but I think there's different ways to achieve that. StarCraft 2, for instance, gives you infinite unit selection. That's great. That's so great. You know what sucks? Building a big army and not being able to select it, because you can only select 12 at a time. I can understand that it would add more skill to only let you select 12 at a time, but I think it adds skill in a way that's kind of unintuitive. Or dirtily. So I'm not the biggest fan of, for instance, 12 unit selection, but I am a big fan of the spreading. I think that's great. Also, let me just get my room up here, because I miss my old room. There we go. Now I'm home. Ah, remember this guy? So what I like about Starbow is, other than the really cool pathing things that go on in there, strategy-wise, there's a lot of units that have great defense and shitty offense. Defilers have great defense, but much shittier offense. Obviously, you could say, well, isn't Darkswarm great for offense? Yeah, it's good for offense in this one exact spot that I've placed it at. And how often is the thing you want to attack still? Well, enemy units are never still. My own base is always still. So it is good to use Defilers for that. So that's what I would probably say. That's something I really, really like about Starbow. Urston says, do you think overlords should be detectors? So that's more of a design question rather than like a gameplay question. I kind of want to stay gameplay focused today. It seems that Zerg isn't amazing at dealing with Cloak. You're forced to use a lot of resources on Overseers with Corsairs and Sair DT. I think the more important thing gameplay-wise is to say a Protoss needs to build enough Corsairs to really force a lot of Overseers for that to matter. And otherwise, I think it's... Hope you like my shiny, sparkly white shirt. Let's take one more question. Juste un. I don't see any, so I'm going to go ahead and note something. Starbow, again, is an interesting mix between a lot of the mechanics of Brood War with StarCraft 2. There's a lot of awesome people who work on it. I know some of them, like, of course, Creator, Cable, or Cabell, however you'd like to say it, Bjorn, December's Calm, of course, Ziphius, the Shoutcaster, who does great work over at twitch.tv/SC2Starbow. Strongly recommend you check it out, starbowmod.com. You can look up Starbow. Yes, it's great. I think that's right. It's even the arcade. I would love it if you checked it out. If you like Brood War or you like StarCraft 2, you'll love this. It's the same sort of challenge of being thrown a new set of units and abilities and stuff and getting to figure them out. So if you have become used to all the Heart of the Swarm units and timings and all that stuff, there's a really great way to be fresh. Yeah, so Biedrick asked if there's a place to find more resources on Starbow strategy builds and other people to play with. I think there is a channel in StarCraft 2 called Starbow Mod or Starbow. I think. Probably StarbowMod.com is probably the best place to go. I'd probably estimate so. Is this a paid Starbow ad? Oh my god. Oh my god. That's awesome. That's awesome. So for any of you who don't know how business works and like to make up things according to the rules of... what would it be the rule? Maybe Adult Swim on Cartoon Network? Maybe the old Liquid TV on MTV? Yes, there is a mod made by community members. And this mod that generates no money, because it is a mod, they spent all that dirty money hiring me. Tens of thousands of dollars generated by the free mod that generates no money. There it is. And suddenly the poster goes, wait. Oh, if I'd thought for 5 seconds. Oh, it just took 5 seconds to think that through. Oh no. Oh, what have I done? I think it's just a cool mod. So I think you should definitely check it out. Yeah. Oh, also I owe everyone $1 million for my misprediction yesterday. Once the Starbow check comes in, I'll cash it and pay everyone $1 million. Take it easy, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to play Dishonored.